Saddam Hussein was born to a peasant family in Tikrit, Iraq on April 28, 1937. When Saddam was born, his mother, severely depressed by her oldest son's death and disappearance of her husband, was unable to effectively care for Saddam, and at age 3, he was sent to Baghdad to live with his uncle, Kerala Tafa, a member of the Arab nationalistic Ba'athist Party. After attending the nationalistic Al-Khar Secondary School in Baghdad in 1957 at age 20, Saddam joined the Ba'athist Party. Shortly thereafter, he managed to escape prison. In 1968, Saddam participated in a bloodless but successful Ba'athist coup that resulted in Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr becoming Iraq's president and Saddam his deputy. During al-Bakr's presidency, Saddam proved himself to be an effective and progressive politician, although a clearly cruel one. He also nationalized Iraq's oil industry just before the energy crisis of 1973, which resulted in a massive revenue for the nation. In 1979, when al-Bakr attempted to unite Iraq and Syria in a move that would have left Saddam effectively powerless, Saddam forced al-Bakr to resign, and on July 16, 1979, Saddam Hussein became president of Iraq. On September 22, 1980, a year later after Saddam came to power, Saddam sent forces into Iran, which led to a war that lasted 8 years. In this picture, we see Saddam Hussein greeting Carlos Cardone, a Chilean businessman who provided Iraq with weapons in the late 1980s. On March 28 through August 8, 1988, Saddam used chemical weapons against the Kurdish town of Halabja, killing an estimated 5,000 civilians. During December of 1990, Muhammad Ali had to persuade a man who has openly defied the UN and President Bush to release hostages to him. During the persuasion, Saddam praised himself for his treatment of his hostages. Ali assured Hussein that he'd bring back the U.S. an honest account of his visit to Iraq. After Saddam's meet with Muhammad, Saddam agreed to release 15 U.S. hostages to Ali. In this picture, we have the U.S. ambassador to Iraq, April Catherine Glaspie, meeting with Saddam for an emergency meeting to talk about the Mubarak arranging for Kuwaiti and Iraqi delegations to meet in Riyadh. On August 2, 1990, Saddam invaded the oil fields in Kuwait. A coalition of nations led by the U.S. quickly forced Iraq to withdraw, but Saddam Hussein's authority still stood. Soon after the September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City, Soviet intelligence related information to the U.S. government that indicated Iraq was planning further terrorist attacks against the U.S. Later that year, UN inspections of suspected weapon sites in Iraq began, but little or no information that such programs existed was ultimately found. On December 13, 2003, at 8:30 p.m., Saddam was found hiding in a small underground bunker, or spider hole, near a farmhouse in Adwar, 10 miles south of Tikrit. On November 5, 2006, Saddam was found guilty and sentenced to death. The sentencing was appealed but was ultimately upheld by a court of appeals. On December 30, 2006, at Camp Justice, an Iraqi base in Baghdad, was hanged, despite his request to be shot. The infamous Saddam Hussein was known as the Butcher of Baghdad due to the brutal attacks against various ethnic groups in his own country, including the use of poison gas against civilian populations of those who are not members of this ethnic group. The hanging of Saddam Hussein ended the life of one of the most brutal tyrants in recent history.